and requesting comprehensive credit reports that revealed the true extent of the damage. Over the next week, as I systematically uncovered each new violation, the true scope of Dylan's theft became clear. I discovered 2 more credit cards he'd opened using my information, both maxed out on cash advances that had been used for more gambling, a personal loan for $12,000 that I was legally responsible for, taken out using forged documents, 3 store credit accounts I'd never applied for. The total damage was approaching $60,000. Money that had been stolen from my financial future while I'd been planning a wedding that was never going to happen. But the theft was only the beginning of their campaign of retaliation. The debt collector started calling his parents' house within days, apparently because Dylan had been giving them that address when his own phone was disconnected for non-payment. Patricia called me 6 times the first day, her voice becoming increasingly hysterical with each message. The first message was almost polite. "Hello, dear. This is Patricia. We're having some issues with debt collectors calling about Dylan's situation. Could you please call me back so we can discuss how to handle this appropriately?" By the third message, desperation was creeping in. "Please, we really need to talk. These people are calling every hour saying terrible things about legal action." We had no idea how serious this had gotten. By the 6th message, she was openly sobbing. "Please, you have to help us understand what's happening. We don't know how much he actually owes or who to believe. These people are threatening to sue us. Please, just call me back." I saved every message but never responded, recognizing them as attempts to manipulate me into taking responsibility for Dylan's choices. Richard showed up at my apartment building 3 days later, looking haggard and desperate in a way that would have been satisfying if it weren't so pathetic. The doorman called up to ask if I wanted to see him, and I could hear Richard's voice in the background, pleading his case with increasing desperation. "Tell Mr. Patterson that his son can provide him with all the financial information he needs," I instructed the doorman calmly. "Also tell him that any further attempts to contact me will be considered harassment and reported to the authorities." 2 weeks after the dinner, I received a formal letter from their family attorney, a document so bizarre that I read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. It was half apology, half legal threat, written in the kind of flowery language that lawyers use when they're trying to sound reasonable while making completely unreasonable demands. The letter acknowledged that Dylan had made some mistakes, but suggested that I was partially responsible for enabling his behavior by not monitoring our shared finances more carefully. It implied that a reasonable person would have noticed the warning signs earlier and taken steps to protect themselves, essentially blaming me for being too trusting. More incredibly, the letter strongly suggested that I sign a non-disclosure agreement about Dylan's private matters in exchange for a modest financial settlement of $5,000. Apparently, they were worried about their reputation in their social circles and wanted to ensure that I wouldn't discuss the situation with mutual friends, business associates, or potential future partners. The letter also hinted that if I chose to pursue criminal charges, they would be forced to defend Dylan by questioning my mental stability and suggesting that I had been a willing participant in his financial decision. I forwarded the letter to my own attorney with a note. "Please prepare whatever paperwork we need to ensure these people never contact me again. Also, please research what constitutes criminal fraud in cases involving identity theft and forged signatures. And please find out if attempting to buy someone's silence about crimes constitutes obstruction of justice." My lawyer called back within hours, and I could hear